Welcome back. Something occurred to me while recording this episode. Jagex created these achievements as a way to entice players to experience the content they created. I kinda realized this in the last episode when I decided to complete the required quests even if I only had to start them in order to complete a task. But, starting with this episode, I'm going to fully embrace that idea. So, if a task requires a particular quest, even if it's just to start it in order to access, like with the Troll Stronghold, I'm going to complete that quest before I complete the task, unless I run into another situation where completing the task is part of the quest. In that case, I'll just complete the quest before moving on to the next task. And if a task turns out to be a small part of a larger piece of content, I'll complete the content to the best of my ability, as you'll see later in this video. Anyway, roll the intro. Say hello to Greg Heff. Together, he and I are working to complete every diary task in old school RuneScape in order from easy to elite without doing anything in the higher tiers before completing every task in the lowest tier. This is the diary of a Wimpy adventurer. I'm going to apologize right now as my audio got messed up while recording, so I'm going to throw it back to how I did in the first few episodes and just talk over what I was doing throughout the video. I'm still a wee baby when it comes to all this recording stuff, but anyway, let's just get into it. In this episode, I decided to start working on the Cara tasks. There aren't too many requirements that I haven't already completed, so while looking at the list, I figured this would be a cakewalk. I did, however, need to get 40 mining so I could get some gold ore, so I went to the Kandarin Monastery to knock out a few levels. This is a classic Iron Man method for getting mining XP, as you can quickly fill up your inventory near the monastery, run up to the bank in South Arty, and teleport back to the monastery with the Arty cape. I ended up going to level 41 so I could equip a rune pickaxe to speed things up later on down the line. You guys might be wondering, why aren't you wearing your Varrock plate body while you're mining the iron? Well, that's part of the punishment for breaking the rules, and even though I forgot to do that in the last episode, there will be no more Varrock plate body until I unlock plate body 2. Well, except for these cutaway shots. Anyway, I did end up getting level 41, which meant it was now time to grab my rune pick. But first, a little quiz, which rewarded me with a steel plate body, which would basically replace my Varrock armor for now. Since I didn't check to see how much the rune pickaxe would actually cost beforehand, I was unpleasantly surprised to find out that I was about 9k short of being able to purchase one. Even after selling my adamant pick, I was still about 7k short, which meant it was once again time to make some money. Inspired by a recent settled video, I went to the basement in the West Varrock Bank to telegrab some gold bars and turn into bracelets that I could elk. After getting a full inventory of gold bars, I went off to Edgeville to craft the bracelets. Since I don't have 55 magic, I decided to use my 30 free low alks that I get from the lumber ring to bring me up to just over 32k. I actually really like using the interface for the ring alking because you can basically just spam the alks. Too bad it isn't a high elk, but I'll take what I can get at this point. While I was in Edgeville, I decided to take a trip. A symbolic trip. A trip to the Edgeville dungeon. I'm leaving the play body here as a gesture in good faith that I will not be taking advantage of any of the benefits it has to offer, whether that be through mining or defense. Besides, I won't need another one anyway until I get the Varrock plate body 2, so there's no need to keep it in my bank. Every time I see that empty bank slot, I'll be reminded of my mistake, and that I can't allow it to happen again. Now that that's out of the way, I ran back over to purchase my rune pick so I can move on with the Cara tasks. And I wanted the first thing I mined with this axe to be the gold ore that I needed for the diary, so let's start making our way over to the island. After kitting up in my best grey armor, I set sail to Cara to start knocking out tasks. First up was using the rope swing to get over to the island with the moss giants, and in the spirit of the new rule I made, I decided to stay for a bit and kill one, because why not? I ended up actually getting 37 coins, which paid for my trip over here, so it was worth it. Since I was nearby, I ran up to go mine some gold with my shiny new pickaxe for task number 4. Figured I may as well mine a few ores while I was here, and I already knew I'd be walking a lot anyway. After getting 7 ores, I started heading south to pick some seaweed when I got poisoned by the locals, which forced me to head back and go to the bank and grab some anti-poison. Probably should have known that I'd need that at some point when traveling here, but you know what they say. Oh well. Good thing I got those coins earlier. Anyway, after picking up 2 more seaweed, I completed my 5th area task. If you guys recall, back in episode 6, I picked up some seaweed while completing one of the Kandarin tasks, which is why I only needed to pick up 2 more for this task. But now that that's taken care of, I kept heading south to cross the bridge to Cairn Island for task number 6. After that, I ran back up north to the Jogar Lair to kill one of Shrek's tribal relatives for another task. I only had a few more tasks to go at this point, one of which was to catch some shrimps, and another to sail to Port Sarim, leaving me with only 1 task to go: entering the Fight Caves. For those of you who don't know, the Fight Caves is one of the first bosses that a lot of people attempt on their accounts. It consists of 63 waves of monsters that range from level 22 all the way up to 360, each of which having different attack styles: melee, ranged, and magic. It's also home to Jed, a big scary Zar monster that can hit you with melee damage if you get too close, or will switch between range and magic attacks from a distance. But, if defeated, you're rewarded with the Fire Cape, one of, if not the best early to mid-level capes in the game. But we won't be fighting Jed. Actually, technically there's no way for us to fight Jed, because one of the medium Karamja tasks is to kill a 360 that spawns in wave 31. But that doesn't mean we can't get all the way to level 31 before moving on from this task. See where I'm going with this? Yeah, this is where that new rule is really coming into play. See, the whole reason I wanted to add this rule was because, yeah, sure, I could just blaze through all the tasks as quickly as possible, but what's the fun in that? I watch RuneScape content in my free time, and one of my favorite things to watch is for creators to come up with unique and interesting challenges that force them to play the game in a way that no one really has before. Whether it's a chunk locked, or a region locked, or even a tile locked account. I love watching people figure out weird ways to overcome the difficulties of their challenges, and I wanted to do that for myself. Which is why this video took so long to release. And actually, as of the time this video gets uploaded, I'm still not even done with the Karamja tasks. Whoops, spoiler. Sorry. So what is this challenge that I'm so worked up about? Well, here it is. I wanted to complete the first 30 waves of the Fight Caves before I claim my diary rewards. Since I can't actually kill a 360 due to my account restrictions, I want to do all the content in the Fight Caves that I can before moving on from this task. But here's the problem. Take a look at my stats. These are not Fight Cave stats. Well, not for me at least. On my main, I had 78 ranged, 55 prayer, and 70 defense before I was able to actually get my first Fire Cape, and that was with Armadillo D'hide and a Toxic Blowpipe. Don't worry, I have zero desire to grind those out in this account at this time. I do, however, have the desire to grind out a different set of armor. Spined Armor. Spined Armor is tier 40 ranged armor that only requires the completion of the Fremnik trials and 40 ranged and defense to wear. It's made by giving Sigly a total of 6 Dagonoth hides, a circular hide, a flattened hide, and a stretched hide for the helmet, body, and chaps, and gives a ranged attack bonus of plus 29. This would be my best in slot ranged armor for a very long time until I either complete Dragon Slayer for green D'hide, or get my crafting level up to 71 to be able to craft blue D'hide. It also looks sick, and while I'm sure a lot of you would probably just skip right over this armor set due to its low attack bonuses and the availability of better armor in general, it actually has some pretty solid defensive bonuses, and I think it would be iconic for this account. So, how do you get this armor? Well, for most players, it only costs about 64k on the GE, but I don't have access to that, so I'll have to get the hides manually. The only Dagonoths that actually drop the hides are the ones in the Waterbirth dungeon, and if you've never been there before, well, there isn't much room for safe spotting. Actually, there's really no room for safe spotting until you lose aggro, after which you can range them from behind the skeleton. But the problem then becomes, how do I wait out the aggro so I can safely range them? Well, there really is no other way than to pray melee and wait 10 minutes for the aggro to go away, but may I remind you? Yeah, I'm nowhere near 43 prayer, which means no protect for melee. There is, however, one other solution. this tile right here. This beautiful, safe little tile. Well, somewhat safe. See, this tile is right next to an egg which spawns a baby Dagonoth once every 5 minutes until you lose aggro, but another thing about this egg is that the Dagonoths get stuck on it if you lead them correctly. Which means... you can flinch them! Which is exactly my plan to get these hides. You guys have no idea how excited I was when I figured this out. I was testing things out on my main to make sure it was actually repeatable, and it took me about 5 hours of testing different things and looking around, hoping for some kind of solution to this problem. And then when I finally figured it out and was able to recreate it with Greg, I actually got super emotional, which was unfortunately lost due to me screwing up the audio recording, so yay me. Regardless, I was pumped, but my excitement was short-lived because I looked over one small detail. Here's the drop table for the Dagonoths I'll be able to flinch. Do you see anything wrong? Mayhaps something missing from the table?
Well, where are the other hides you mentioned?
I'm glad you asked. The circular, flattened, and stretched hides are only dropped by the level 88 Dagonoths, which are the Ranger Dagonoths, which are not in this area, which means no flinching them. So, it was back to the drawing board. Initially, I was trying to figure out ways to cheese the game in order to basically draw out the Rangers to an area where I could safely kill them. But to do this, first I'd have to figure out a way to safely lose aggro on the level 90 Dagonoths so I would stand a better chance at it. However, like I said before, this is the only safe tile I was able to find in the entire dungeon, and it's nowhere even close to where the Rangers are. So I tried a bunch of different things, like having my main stand one tile in front of me while taking aggro from another Dagonoth, hoping they wouldn't be able to stack on top of each other like how it works in the other corner, but that didn't work. I also tried standing on the same tile as Greg so that maybe they'd be unable to stack on top of each other, and I'd be able to safe spot them that way, but that didn't work either. And after almost dying a few times, I decided to do some research and found a forum post that talked about how collision works in this game and realized that there's really no other way about it. I'd have to get the prayers. I'd need to get the prayers anyway in order to even attempt the fight caves, so it was a grind I'd go on either way, and at this point I really just wanted to start working towards getting this armor, so I set out to enact my master plan. This plan will be broken out into 5 phases: unlocking protection prayers, unlocking prayer potions, questing, getting the spined armor, and getting to wave 31 of the fight caves. Unlocking protection prayers was actually pretty easy. I went over to the giant fight pit in Karen to pick up 500 big bones to take to the Chaos Altar. This only took a few hours and I only got PK'd a couple times, but I got all the way up to 44 prayer with the bones I picked up. It was honestly pretty funny to see that Greg had a higher prayer level than he did hit points, and it really wasn't something that I ever would have expected for this account when I first created it, but here we are. With that out of the way, it was time to start phase 2. There's really no easy way to get herbs as an Iron Man besides farming and killing Chaos Druids. But I didn't like the idea of potentially wasting seeds with farming, even though I had a ton of super compost. So I planted what herb seeds I did have in the patch in Hosidius to make sure I wouldn't be wasting any of them while I killed Chaos Druids. I spent many hours here just slaughtering druid after druid. If you guys thought the Lumbridge Cow Massacre was bad, it pales in comparison to the amount of sheer savagery I delivered to these poor evil bastards. Here's a spreadsheet I made that has all the XP I had in herbs. This accounts for the amount of XP I'd get for cleaning them, along with making them into their respective potions. And here's my drop loot from the Chaos Druids themselves. I was only picking up herbs as I'd be able to get runes pretty easily from Guardians if I needed them, and the vials are cheap enough that I'd just buy as many as I'd need. But yeah, this was my life for about 3 days. I'd basically get home from work and kill Chaos Druids until I went to bed. But now that I had all the herbs I'd need, it was time to start gathering the secondary items to actually make the potions. The attack potions were pretty easy, as I just bought Eyes of New from Jaddix and Taverley, but I had to kill 172 unicorns, which isn't hard, but it takes a long time, as I was only able to kill 3 at a time. The red spider eggs also took a while, as I was only comfortable picking them up from the Varrock sewers, which netted me a whopping 2 per world. And next up was the Limpwort roots, which I got from killing hobgoblins and Hosidius since they have a 1 in 6 chance in dropping them, and I was able to kill them pretty easily since they're close to a bank. They're also close to the farming patch, so while I was killing hobgoblins, I was also growing all the Limpwort plants I could to help speed things up. I even got a few more herbs along the way as well, so we have even more XP than we'll actually need to get to 38. Once I had everything ready to go in the bank, I ran over to Falador to start making all the potions. And, just like that, I had 42 herblore and 111 prayer potions to work with, which should hopefully be enough to last me through this grind. So, with herblore taken care of, it was time to start phase 3, questing. The reason I decided to start questing is because I wanted to unlock Ava's Attractor, as it has a 60% chance to save ammo along with some decent range bonuses. So I went off to complete Ernest the Chicken along with Animal Magnetism, which rewarded me with the device. Next up, I completed Recruitment Drive, which allowed me to purchase Initiate Armor from Certification, which not only is now my best in slot melee armor for its defense bonuses, but also gives a prayer bonus which will reduce the rate at which my prayer is going to drain. This not only saves me prayer potions, but also who knows how many hours from gathering all those resources again. And now, after about a week and a half of preparation, it's finally time to head back to Waterbirth Island to begin Phase 4, obtaining the Spined Armor. Overall, up to this point, I'm pretty sure I spent over 30 hours on this grind, but it's honestly the most fun I've had while playing this game in a long time. I've done the math, and with a 1 in 12 drop chance for the Dagonoth hide, and each kill taking around 10 minutes while flinching, yes, I'm still flinching them so I can save the prayer potions, I'm estimating that it'll take me about 12 hours to get 6 Dagonoth hides, and that's if I actually hit the drop rate. As of this upload, I have 3, so I'm hoping I'll only have about 6 more hours to go, but then I'll have to pray to RNGesus as I'll be moving on to kill the Rangers, which have a 1 in 64 chance to drop the other hides I need. I'm planning on streaming the rest of this grind, so keep an eye out for community posts where I'll be letting you all know when I go live over on Twitch if you'd like to be there when I finally get the armor. Anyway, this video's gone on long enough. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time. This grind is gonna take fucking forever, dude.
Isn't that what you play the game for? Sick fuck.
Yes, it is, but I can still bitch about it.
Yeah.